Thank you for joining me for this Leading and Organizing in Action session on Learning in Action. I'm Kim McCoy, Senior Program Manager at Stratus Health. The purpose of our session today is to explain why collective action matters and how to get commitments from people. To learn how to design tactics that motivate people to want to come back and do more, and to develop a coaching practice and a learning culture. In this final session of the Leading and Organizing in Action series, we will learn about how leveraging our people and power can produce the change we want to see. We will talk about how to move the hearts and hands of our people towards our shared purpose and goals and to develop a culture of continuous learning. In the previous session, we learned about strategizing collectively. This lesson takes that strategy the next step further and activates the strategy through action. The goal of collective action is to effectively mobilize and deploy resources in ways that build power. Through individual growth and development, action builds leadership skills with each individual team member amplifying the team's skills and ability. Organizational capacity. Action attracts and engages new people, increasing collective ability to affect change. And a strategic aim. Action makes concrete, measurable progress toward an aim. As individual growth and organizational capacity increase, the power for change increases exponentially. We need this collective action because no single person or organization can achieve alone what a coalition can achieve together. Because teams rely on voluntary commitments, the coalition's purpose and actions must keep stakeholders motivated. It is important to design and implement actions that develop relationships, celebrate shared values, and show stakeholders how they generate outcomes together. Collaboration among stakeholder groups strengthens relationships and facilitates collective energy and orientation. Each action builds momentum by contributing to a platform of shared accomplishments. This is critical to keeping people engaged, as the slow pace of long-term coalition work can stall momentum. Each action, day to day, week by week, produces collective and measurable outcomes. These outcomes, in turn, feed more outcomes, many of which are not planned for or anticipated, as they are real-time responses to constraints and opportunities. When many people have an opportunity to contribute to an effort, they share in its successes and learn from its failures. Either way, it is their victory or loss, not someone else's. This learning, in turn, creates motivation and a sense of ownership that facilitates accountability. When everyone feels that they have something to contribute, they have something to contribute. That is why it is critical that each action is viewed as one small step toward greater outcomes. How do we engage in collective action? Collective action is the mobilization and deployment of resources to achieve a specific aim. The power to mobilize and deploy resources is held by people and/or organizations. Therefore, the key to power and the resulting collective action is ensuring the coalition has committed partners. There are three key components to collective action: seeking commitment, securing commitment, and sustaining commitment through motivational action. Getting clear commitment is essential, yet some leaders find asking for commitment difficult. Some worry about burdening others, while others fear what feels like personal rejection if someone says no. When someone is asked to join, it is giving them the opportunity to engage in meaningful public action. It is not a burden, it is hope and possibility. Some even recognize that their own commitment increases each time someone says yes and a new member is added. Seeking commitments can occur in a variety of ways: a one-to-one meeting, a house meeting, or through any other relational tactics. Asking for commitments involves 4 straightforward steps. Connect. Let the person know who you are and why you care, and ask them how they are affected. Briefly draw on and elicit stories of self and us. Context. Explain how the action being asked is important by briefly offering a story of now. Be specific about the challenges faced, but also hope and potential for the future. Ask questions to draw out the other person's values related to the work. Commitment. Explicitly ask if they can be counted on to engage in action with the coalition. Be very specific about the date, time, and place. Catapult. When someone says yes, give them the respect of having real work and real responsibility in action. Would you be willing to take on this role at the event? Can you commit to bringing 2 friends with you? When people are invited to engage, they are invited to find purpose in action and solidarity with others. Part of enabling others to achieve purpose relies on our recruitment skills and a cycle of securing commitment, which is highly dependent on communication and follow-up. Recruit others and get a commitment to action. Confirm the commitment a few days out. Check in and see if the people who committed need a ride, can invite others, or can take responsibility for part of the action. Confirm the day before the action. Provide full details on the place, time, and purpose of the action, including any updates on the agenda or attendees. Confirm again, 1 to 2 hours before the action. This is the period when people may find something more urgent to do. Convey your excitement for them to join in action. Action. Lead a motivational action that respects others' time, but also provides opportunities for relationship building to connect to our core values and purposeful, measurable action. Evaluate the action together. Tally up all the measurable outcomes so everyone can see that they are part of a bigger whole. Debrief in detail what worked and what should change next time. Celebrate together. Create practices and a culture for how to celebrate together with music or food or a round of stories from the day. The next day, thank everyone for their participation in action. Tell them specifically the impact the action made. Ask for further input on what worked and what should be changed next time. Recruit participants to commit to the next level of leadership, helping the coalition team plan more actions within their geography or network. For action to successfully engage others in a way that expands rather than depletes collective resources, actions must be intentionally designed and implemented. Once there is commitment from others to join, it is important that they have a meaningful experience when they take action. If people do not feel like what they are doing is important, if they feel that they are being exploited or cast aside, or if they do not grow and learn as they act, then they are unlikely to come back the next time they are asked for a commitment. It is the responsibility of coalition leaders to ensure that actions are designed to generate conditions that lead to greater motivation, higher quality work, and greater commitment. 5 criteria serve as guidelines for designing motivational action. The more people are asked to commit to action that scores high on these 5 criteria, the more people will want to continue to commit to our work together. Nearly any action can be redesigned to provide a more meaningful experience that supports individual creativity and growth while clearly contributing to the achievement of the coalition's goals. First is task identity. Participants complete a task from start to finish. Second is task significance. People understand and see the direct impact of the task they're doing. Third is skill variety. People engage a variety of skills, including head, heart, and hands. Fourth is autonomy. People have opportunities to make choices about how to do the work. And finally, there's feedback. Results are visible to those performing the task, even while they perform them. Leadership and organizing is about enabling others to achieve purpose in the face of uncertainty. Coaching is the act and art of enabling others. Coaching helps individuals overcome the motivational, strategic, and practical challenges that can hinder the ability of an individual, team, and coalition to achieve its aims. Coaching is a direct intervention in an individual's or team's work process to help improve effectiveness or overcome challenges. Coaching is about helping a person or team think through an issue, determine their own approach to address it, then encouraging and supporting them through the corrective action. Coaching uses appreciative inquiry to enable someone to view the issue from a new perspective. Telling someone what they should do is not coaching, it is directing. Coaching is useful whenever working to enable others to build their own capacity to act. Individual leaders and teams may agree to co-coach one another as peers, or an individual may seek one-way coaching support from a more experienced leader. For coaching to work, both the coach and the person being coached must agree that they are entering into a coaching relationship. As in structuring a team, it is helpful at the outset of the coaching relationship to establish this purpose and agree to expectations around roles and norms of conduct. In coalitions, coaching can be useful in supporting leaders to hone narratives to motivate others to action, conduct effective one-to-one meetings, overcome motivational or structural challenges with individuals or teams in the field, develop measurable aims and resourceful tactics that build capacity, or develop interdependent teams and structures between teams. Effective coaching entails listening, being present, pursuing mutual growth, creating constructive tension, fostering learning through reflection on successes and failures, guiding to solutions, and offering a balance of support and challenge. Coaching that's less effective is deciding what the problem is before you observe people's behaviors. Falsely praising others or focusing on strengths because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Criticizing others for what they don't do well. Telling another person what to do, and challenging or supporting at the expense of the other person. There are three basic types of coaching approaches. Motivational coaching is aimed at enhancing effort or engaging the heart. Strategic coaching is aimed at planning, evaluating, or thinking about the strategic or structural approach, engaging the head. And skills-based coaching is aimed at executing with skill and learning from experience, engaging the hands. It is important to know when to apply each approach. For instance, if an individual is struggling with motivation and is offered skills-based coaching, that may not be as effective and might cause further frustration. Each type of coaching requires a diagnosis of the problem and different tone and tactics to address the issue. Coaching is the practice of continuous learning and development at the individual level. For a coalition to be successful, it must also create a systematic culture of learning and improvement across the team. Emergent learning is about designing a process to enable us to continue to learn from our experience as that experience unfolds. It is literally about learning that emerges from the work itself. Its tools and practices support surfacing, capturing, and employing those insights to inform future work and help train our thinking process to make decisions and take action based on deeper and more robust hypotheses about what it will take to achieve the future to which we aspire. A coalition aims to create change in a dynamic environment with partners and stakeholders who view the world through their own eyes and use their own experience and thinking to make their own informed decisions. Their thinking will be different from yours and will evolve based on their own experience, as will yours. Therefore, it is not enough to gather once or even once a year to reflect together. The tools and practices of emergent learning are designed to help people who have different perspectives engage with each other at the beginning of a project or initiative, during the work itself, as often as needed to adjust thinking as the situation unfolds, and at the end of project or initiative to reflect on and document lessons learned. In a complex environment, there is literally too much to learn. To begin an emergent learning practice, identify a handful of learning priorities and build a plan to learn from the work itself. A great place to start is by exploring your own strategic plan, logic model, or theory of change, and the underlying assumptions. One simple way to look at logic models, theories of change, or strategy documents is that they all consist of a series of if-then hypotheses. If we make this decision or take this action, then we expect to achieve that result. Thinking in this way makes it easier to test out hypotheses in practice. The if is the decision or action, the then is how you would recognize success. A framing question translates a learning priority, challenge, opportunity, or hypothesis into a question that keeps people's attention focused as they work. It encourages people to explore new ideas. It also helps bring a community of partners together to think together in an attitude of inquiry. Selecting an effective framing question is a bit of an art. The best framing questions typically take the form of, what would it take to, or how can we? It is in the things that we do on an everyday basis that we either learn and improve or move through the motions on the way to the next deadline. Making decisions, meeting with stakeholders, conducting routine health procedures, rotating shifts, these routine events can be seen as an opportunity to conduct a learning experiment. Think about your framing question. What events or activities in your regular work would lend themselves to trying new ideas? Look for especially important upcoming events. These events offer great opportunities to help a group where it will matter most to them. Look for repeated events. These provide a built-in opportunity to test out a group's thinking, see how it works, refine its approach, and try again. If you can improve something your group does on a repeated basis, the group will quickly see the benefit of a learning practice and start looking for other opportunities to try out new thinking. To summarize, an emergent learning practice identifies a learning priority, frames it as a question, identifies opportunities to test out ideas, and employs simple tools to test out ideas in practice. Over time, it helps a group deepen their understanding of what causes a persistent challenge, or how to best take advantage of an important opportunity, and how to work together to learn and improve. Too often, a meeting intended to bring stakeholders together to learn from each other's experience translates into a series of short report outs or PowerPoint presentations, with no real effort being made to create deeper insight or to think about what it would take to apply ideas to future work. To turn these gatherings into true peer learning sessions that help the whole community get better at achieving the outcomes they share, emergent learning tools and practices are applied. A framing question can create a theme for the meeting and a tone of mutual inquiry. It helps participants decide which stories to share. It increases the potential to deepen insight by comparing and contrasting stories in dialogue. In what ways are our experiences similar? How are they different? What meaning do we make of these similarities and differences? What other ideas do these comparisons suggest? As a theory of change, organizing is about equipping people with the power to make change. It takes up three core questions. People. Organizing stakeholders to stand together. The first question an organizer asks is not what is the problem, but who are our people? Organizing starts with people because it focuses on developing and applying the leadership skills of those with the problem so they can mobilize their own resources to solve that problem and sustain the solution. Power, the capacity created by combining resources and using them creatively to achieve a shared goal. Organizing is not simply a commitment to identify and develop leaders, but to engage those leaders in building power with one another to create the change they envision. Organizers develop collective capacity through mutual commitments between stakeholders around shared values. Change. Big, audacious, and measurable goals. In organizing, change is specific, concrete, and significant. It requires focusing on a clear, measurable outcome, specifying a change that is clearly visible, then mobilizing resources to achieve it. Identifying and selecting strategic outcomes is an art. Focused calls to action that create real tangible change must have a single motivating objective and focus all resources strategically on achieving it. Organizing is a form of leadership development designed to enable a community of diverse actors to be transformed into a constituency or group of supporters that mobilizes collective resources toward a common goal. This is achieved by the development of interdependent leadership. In other words, leadership is accepting responsibility for enabling others to achieve shared purpose in the face of uncertainty. The leader is making the decision to act, and his or her first action is to enable others. Organizing involves leaders who understand that they must bring a group of people together around common shared values, purpose, and hope to change the status quo.